is an elephant.
Welcome, everyone. And thank you for joining us. This is Dr. Lisa, and you have joined us again for another Sunday Soul podcast. This is episode 39. And we are going to be discussing something that is very, very important, which is why I have decided to just allow you to listen to my voice tonight. The topic for the evening is wanted. Empaths that are ready to get to work needed, but not just any empath that is ready to get to work and do the things that are necessary, but the empath that is also ready, willing, and able to not fall into the continual messages of fear, of doubt, of frustration, the fear that is plaguing our nation right now, the fear that is plaguing our world right now and causing division. So I'm just going to ask that the chat be willing to let me know, can you hear me? I'm going to type that into the chat here. If you can hear me, please drop some hearts in the chat while we let the room load. Drop some hearts in the chat as we let the room load, and let your friends know that I am back for another evening. I am back for another evening with all of you. Now, before I get started, I want to remind you, fabulous, I want to remind you that you can go to www.heartofinspiration.net. And there, over the next couple of days, you're going to find some new moon in October information, the crystal grid that we'll be putting together, as well as some of the meanings thereof. And please do consider subscribing to my email list, where I am sending out information regarding all things spiritual, all things light workers, all things empaths, all things starseeds, and all things in regard to raising the vibration of the planet. Welcome. Let's get started, shall we? Tonight, I decided to discuss this topic based on some Facebook notifications, shall we say. I have seen some healers, some masters, some workers out in the field that have been posting for in-person events and such, and some people that have been posting their points of view on various topics that are of great importance to us right now. Some of the topics that have struck fear in the hearts of men and women and children all over this globe, and certainly in this nation, and some of the narratives that have been spoken. And what it is beginning to occur to me is we have an old guard. We have an old guard. And that old guard, even in the spiritual community, has fallen prey to old school thinking. They've fallen prey to ritualistic thinking. They've fallen prey to almost a religious thinking, and they have fallen prey to the fear based thinking, the fear based energy, the energy of control, of divide and conquer that is plaguing this country, that is plaguing this world. They are putting forward messages of division, saying if you're not this, you can't come. If you're not that, you're not welcome. If you're not this, I have no sympathy for you. If you don't have this, I don't have time to, nor can I accept you in my space. Now, this is what I want to say. Everyone has the right to decide whom they wish to have in their space and who they don't. That's fine. In fact, there are those of us that go through a process in order to make sure that those that we allow into our close circle, into our community, that we are of like mind and like energy, that we are all working towards ascension, that we are all working towards the betterment of humanity, that we are all working to raise the vibrational set point of humanity, that we are all working towards assisting humanity, indeed assisting the entire globe in ascending to 5D or fifth dimensional living, a fifth dimensional consciousness, a fifth dimensional way of life that is not plagued with the drastic and dense polarity that exists in third dimensional realms. Now, this isn't exclusionary. In fact, there are a number of us that are now on the front lines that are very, very inclusive. Very inclusive. Regardless of what your previous religious background is or belief systems are or were or are not any longer, it doesn't matter to us. Medical statuses don't matter to us. Why is that? Because we are working towards an ascension past and beyond that which the matrix controls. We take this work quite seriously. We take this task quite seriously. We take the mission quite seriously. But what I am seeing, what is troubling to me, is in all regards, I'm seeing this in people that are putting forward, YouTube videos and Telegram videos and Instagram videos, and they're saying that if you are this, then you will not ascend. If you have this medical status, then it's going to be more difficult for you to ascend. Or if you're of this medical status, well, or not, then oh well. At what point are we going to decide, as the new guard, as those of us that are blazing a new trail forward, at what point are we going to decide, as empathic healers, as light workers, as star seeds, as earth angels, as ascended ones, at what point are we going to decide to take up our rightful place? And while this might sound rather aggressive, I can assure you it's not. This is not aggressive. This is standing in our power and taking our position. If we honestly, for those of you perhaps that have already begun to be energy healers, you understand that you have the um, innate and incarnate ability to help others heal, albeit energetically, and then by helping them heal energetically, and by that I mean, help them to do their shadow work, help others to work through inner child work, help others work through clearing past life karma, help others balance their chakras, help others to strengthen their auras, help others to raise their consciousness. Those of us that have recognized that and believe in it, at least we did in 2019. At least we did in the beginning, perhaps, of 2020. And maybe even at the beginning of 2021. But at some point, the old guard has lost their collective minds. If we truly do believe that as practitioners of the energetic healing arts, that what we do within then manifests itself without, that the true nature and the true aura and the true being exists in an energetic and spiritual and higher consciousness level, and that us being here incarnated in a third dimensional denser body that we are animating and we are utilizing for this purpose as the incarnate being, whatever that mission may be, and whatever the lessons we came here to learn, and whatever experiences we chose to incarnate herein. And those experiences, shall we say, are the mission that we have in order to assist others in reaching these same heights. At what point did we decide that it no longer works? At what point did we decide, or did the old guard decide, you know what? I know I've been spouting off all of this stuff for all of these years, but guess what? Right now, today, it don't work anymore. So therefore, if you've had a medical procedure done or you have not had one done, either you've had it done and now, oops, sorry, you don't get to grow. You don't get to ascend. You've, in effect, stunted your growth. Yes, there are people that are saying that. Now, I understand why they're saying that. I understand why. I understand that it is the putting in or presenting now the human body with a foreign energy footprint that is replicating itself. I get it. However, at what point did we decide that higher dimensional energy and light no longer triumphs all? At what point did we make the decision that, oops, all these light codes that you have been turning on within, and oops, all of this great work that you've been doing, and all of this shadow work, and all of these things, at what point did we then make a decision that it's all for naught? Because to me, you're saying it's of none effect. If you're going to say that something is being introduced into the bloodstream and into the incarnated third dimensional dense energy being can then interfere with your higher dimensional self, then reaching the heights that you can. that you are meant to. I'm going to refrain from giving my point of view because that is a personal decision that one must make. I can only make that decision for myself. You can only make the decision for yourself. Now, yes, are there other energetic things that happen when we give in or when we give up certain things? Yeah. However, I choose to believe. If I chose to believe when I came out of Christianity that the being that is called God in the Bible is not so petty, that that being then would just disregard and toss away billions of people because they did not subscribe to how one specific group thought they should believe, think, or act, that they did not say one specific sequence of words, and that was the magic ticket to reconciliation with God. If I got out of that and chose to now get into true relationship with spirit and expansive, loving, light filled, wisdom filled, creatrix creator. If I chose that, why would I go back to ritualistic, fundamentalist thinking now? Yes, there are a million and one things I can say as far as exercising one's freedom and standing up for one's freedom. Yes, there are. But what I will not say is that you, because of whatever choices you felt you should make or you were forced to make, that then that means somehow your ascension process is stunted. I refuse to say that. On the other side, I also refuse to fall prey to lower vibrational thought that in order for you to be in my presence, you must have a particular medical procedure done. Otherwise, you are not welcome in an open forum where we are sharing energy and we're sharing love and light, and we're allowing you to experience the beauty of universal life force and the channeling thereof, or the channeling of an ascended master in a meeting, or an angelic being, or a star race, or a spirit or star guide, whatever the case may be. I'm not going to tell you you cannot attend because I am in fear, or I'm going to allow you to feed the fear and feed into the control. Instead, I'm going to be an open, welcoming, non divisive, non controlling, not higher vibrational entity that is open to all that are honestly and genuinely seeking healing, transformation, and ascension. Now, it might sound like I'm a little bit on my high horse tonight, and yes, I am. But guess what? I'm seated on my throne. I am seated on my throne. And as part of the new guard, shall we say, as part of the next generation, as part of the next iteration of Lightworker Starseed, empathic healer, intuitive, Akashic and Galactic record reader, medium, astrologer, choose mentor, teacher. As part of that group, I will not stand for it. And I am putting out the call for all of you who will not either. It is time for us to stand up. It is time for us to take spirituality back. There is a division, a split that is happening, and it is in multiple sectors of spirituality. We have the sectors of those that are wanting to hold to some interesting theories on a political front. And if you don't believe those theories or don't believe the way they do, then you're not of the light. You're still walking in darkness. There are those that are split on medical procedure. There are those that are split on, this is the only modality that is a healing modality and none others are worthwhile. There are those that are split on this is the only way you meditate. This is the only way that you interact with the ancestors. And if you're not interacting with the ancestors, then, nope, sorry. Oh, no, that astrology thing, please leave it in the third dimension. Don't you dare. Don't you dare talk about it in a higher dimensional method. That's darn near heresy. And heaven forbid you actually use astrology and your understanding or your interaction with the global or the cosmic universal energies to then say, this is the energetic update that we should be looking towards. And that we can indeed grow above and beyond. There are those that say, you got to stick by the law of manifestation in this way. Because if you veer off, no, can't do that. You're wrong. There's only one way to energy heal, and that is the Japanese way. Oh, but you must use all sorts of other things, right? Nothing else works but crystals. There's no other divination tool besides the tarot. I could go on and on and on. On and on. All I see is all these divisions. All I see is this is my way and my way is the only way. All I see is people spouting off and saying, I am so fabulous. I shouldn't say all I see. That's not true. I'm being a tad bit hyperbolic. But I see enough of it that within me I had to say, this is it. This is it. So I'm putting out the call to the empaths. Please come and use your superpowers. It's time to get to work and help heal and stop dividing. It's time for you, the empath, the listener. And I certainly hope that if this helps you in any way, that you'll share this with your friends, that you'll share this with your peers, that you'll share this. Because it's time to stop the division. It's time to stop the fear and the seeking to exercise control. And it's time to stop creating a whole nother religion filled with ritual, filled with doubt, filled with rules, filled with regulation. filled with the do's and the don'ts and the you can't and the this and the that and I'm better than you and you're not really listening and you don't understand because you've not been in this for a long time. Let me tell you something. Can I share something with you? None of us have been in this that long. Do you know why I say that? Because when you mark 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years against that measure of eternity, miss me with the I'm an old head and I've been in this game and I know better than you. Miss me. We're at the tail end of a 26,000 year cycle. Have any of these people been a human in this way, in this manner for 26,000 years? I think not. Most of them don't even have any flipping idea how many lifetimes they've even been here. A lot of them, if you talk to them about their starseed or their galactic origins, they'll look at you like you've got 5 heads. And oh, heaven forbid, you pull a tarot card or an oracle card, then all of a sudden, oh God, yeah, you know what? You're so much lesser than. I've been doing this for so long, and I've been taught blah 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 blah. Now hear me out. I am not saying at all that any of the teachers that we have listened to this point in the books and the methodologies and the teachings about those methodologies, that they are all for naught, that they're all garbage, they're all rubbish. I'm not saying that at all. Yes, it makes perfect sense for you to learn and to hone your craft. It makes perfect sense for you to practice, for you to immerse yourself, for you to gain knowledge and wisdom. It makes perfect sense for you to have mentors and coaches and helpers and teachers. It makes perfect sense for you to do that. I myself have mentors and coaches, and I myself I submit myself to my peers for review, if you will. As iron sharpens iron, so does a man his friend. I do. But what I refuse to do any longer is allow those that are in these positions of leadership, those that are in these positions of mentorship, of training, of channeling, of speaking, of healing, and training up the next generation. What I refuse to do is to continue to allow them to divide the collective consciousness, because that is how the consciousness gets fractured and conquered. That is how this 26,000 year cycle that we are ending ends up with this planet at a lower vibrational set point than what it started at, instead of ascension to 5D. What that ends up being then is that the control and fear energies, because please don't have this misconception somehow that there isn't an equal and opposite fifth dimension, if you will, on the fear and control side. There absolutely is. There is polarity throughout the entirety of the universe. What happens as you go further and further dimensionally is that the density of the energy in juxtaposition to the light and higher vibrational energy is further and further apart. So its effect can be, it's not as heavy, it's not as harsh, it's not as potent. But a planet or a people or a race that has descended into further fear and control is a lot like a planet that we have right now, only it's a lot darker. It's a lot denser. The energy is much more difficult to get through and pierce through to the light out of the darkness. So don't be deceived. The fracture that is occurring right now in spirituality can have great ramifications overall in the context of where humanity is going. And I think that some of these folks don't even realize this is how they're being used. I think some of these folks, a lot of them, honestly believe that what they're doing is the right thing. So when I say these things, I don't say them in judgment. I say them in love and as an alarm clock. Wake up. Wake up. Look at what you're doing. Wake up. You are heading down a path that doesn't lead to greater light, but leads to greater fear and control and censorship of the message that needs to be brought. But I don't believe that they honestly understand that. That's where you and I come in. Now, I am not anxious or concerned or anything about the current state of things or the future. Why? Because I'm living in neutrality. I am living above the fray. I choose to reside in the realm that is above the fray and is looking down at the density, choosing not to be affected. I have enacted my superpowers, and that help wanted sign is for more people like me to enact their superpowers, to get to work. We are faced with decisions, some of us, a lot of us. Do we continue to subjugate ourselves to a 9 to 5, an 8 to 5, an 8 to 8, a work grind situation, and never build and never get to work in our purpose? Do we continue to subjugate ourselves to this point? Or instead, do we decide that we are going to step into our superpower, one of which is the ability to have unconditional love without having to fall into the trap of being tied to you? That we do not have to be codependent, that we do not have to allow your issues to be our problems, but we can still love you through your situation and help guide you through that. You as an empath, an empathic healer, an empathic intuitive, you are feeling everybody's feelings. That doesn't mean you have to take them on. In feeling everyone's feelings, you then can triage what's going on and then send your energy out and help empower others to turn their lights on, empower others to feel free, empower others to be free, empower others to walk in their purpose and their power. This is what we do. We help guide them through this process. But you have to be able to enact those and activate those, and then it's time to get to work. You see, people like me can't just do this all by ourselves. The call is out for the new group, the new blood. The call is out for the new guard. The call is out for those that are willing to step into and step through their diamond portal, to step into their crystalline being and begin to transfigure and transform and transmute themselves into that. That's what the call is out here for. And to stop the divide. If that means we do no longer support with our dollar or with our energy those that we see are causing division within the community, then we just don't. We have to use our discernment and come together. We do not have time for this tit for tat. Oh, I'm just going to go along with the get along. I'm just going to go on and do this so that I don't come under fire from anyone. It's time out to just walk this middle of the road, the sitting on the fence. It's time to get up. It's time to get up. It's not time to placate and people please. This is the thing with empaths. We placate and we people please. Why? Because we feel everybody else's pain. And then because we feel everybody else's energy, we want everybody to be happy. Because that's usually how we are. We're just happy people. So we want everybody else to feel happy. So what do? We make sure everybody else feels happy and then we don't take care of ourselves. It's time out for that. And it's time out. And I'm saying this to those that are already in the trenches working, those that have been out here. And I'm going to call you the old guard for right now because I'm hearing a lot of things that are being said that sound a lot like a lot of fear-based stuff. That sounds a lot like, oof, I better toe this line or I better lean over to one side because I don't want to get taken off of Facebook. I don't want to get taken off of YouTube. I don't want to get taken off of Instagram. I don't want to get taken off of TikTok. I don't want anybody to think that I'm some deranged individual. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to make sure that my social credit, is A1. And I'm here to tell you that you can be sure there are ways to nav these discussions without having the discussions. And those that have ears will hear. But you must stand up and really put into action what you say that you believe. And the reason I'm making this statement so sternly is because I'm seeing some of the very people that I have gone to for coaching and mentorship and teaching. Some of the same people that have become my peers that are falling into this category of let me just put it out here and cause this division and making people feel unwelcome. And it is troubling and it is sad and it is maddening and it cannot be tolerated. We cannot allow that to be how spirituality is perceived. I am not, for one, going to sit here and subjugate myself to some religious type belief system that, I'll just say it, that Reiki is the only way to enact healing, energy healing, or that shamanism is the only way, that the Munye Ki or Kai Ki, Munye Ki is the only shamanism, or the this or the that, or the Egyptian, spirituality is the only way to go. And that because I'm melanated, that I must only subscribe to that. Or if you've got red hair and Irish background, you better just roll with your Celtics. Don't come over here to the Incans. How dare you? Or that the only starseed race that speaks to us are the Pleiadians. And anybody that's not channeling the Pleiadians is not channeling anyone that, anyone of any worth. We're not doing this, people. We're not doing starseeds have specific skin color and eye color and hair color. What? We're not doing that either. We're not assigning specific starseeds like reptilians and felines and things like that to being all bad, especially the reptilians. Oh my gosh, it gets such a bad name. They got a bad rap, man. When there's so many other starseeds out there that have had, of course, light and shadow side. They've had aggressive sides and they've had peaceful sides. They've had sides that have sought to enact fear and control, and that's how they exercise their power, and others from light and love, right? Love and freedom. And that's how they exercise their power. I will not allow us to devolve into this. I will not allow us to simply say that because you're this, or because you look like this here in this particular incarnation, well, you couldn't be this or you can't be that. That's what I've heard all my life. Why would I want that here? Why are we allowing that? The old guard, there is some, and when I say old guard, I'm really talking about the last very recent history. The old guard to me are those, that came up maybe through the 70s and 80s and such. There are probably some of some that taught in the 60s that are still around. But I'm going to say 70s and 80s and 90s, and then of course the early 2000s and 2010s. There's a number of them that have now created a whole foundational structure upon which they expect everybody else to create and build their consciousness. And I refuse to do that because they're not flowing with the energy that is presenting itself right now, which is a higher and pure energy of love, of freedom, of light, and of wisdom. It is a reincarnation, if you will, of ancient Sumerian, Egyptian, Incan, Mayan, Babylonian, um, uh, actual spiritual technologies that are now being resurrected now, so that but we're looking at them from what we view as a new perception and a new lens, but in reality we're adding some physical technology, and our third dimensional mind's understanding of that technology to this spiritual great technology and these spiritual great mysteries. And so now we can now then tap back into what was then. But what's happened in between with religiousness and then spirituality and then new age and then all this jazz is that in and of itself has become its own religion. And because there were certain revelations that were given to these individuals over the course of a specific set amount of time, then they feel like, well, I have the new revelation, so I'm correct. and it doesn't change. They missed it. They're missing it. And I love them, and I'm saying to this to them in love, and I certainly hope that some of them hear this, because it saddens me to see the propagation and the promulgation of the division within. Yes, and I have a comment on, for those of you that are listening to the replay, that all they're doing is taking 3D society standards and moving them to the spiritual field. They are creating a superiority complex in spirituality, and that is exactly correct. They're creating a religious hierarchy. In spirituality. There's no place for that. There is no place for that. There is no place for that. We are not in competition. We should be in collaboration. We are to be the ones that are to be the true acceptors of all, the true unconditional lovers of men and women, if you will. The only, if there is any requirement, is that you are on your road to awakening and ascension, that you are growing, that you're learning, that you are in the midst of your transformation process. Even if you're just awakening, we should welcome you with open arms, regardless of anything. If you're awakening, if you want to come over here and create problems and do dark magic and hurt people, then that's not the space here for you. But I will tell you this, there is a place for that middle worker, and there is that place for that worker that does that dark magic. Every group needs their enforcers. My point is this, though, and I mean for good reason, not just willy-nilly. The call has gone out. It's time for the empaths to enact their superpowers. It's time for you to recognize what your superpowers are. And your superpower is truly your great big energy. That's your greatest superpower. Your ability to love through all, your ability to accept all, your ability to love your neighbor as yourself, and see people in the eyes of compassion rather than seeing them in the eyes of contempt. See them in their pain and not see them for what they can give you, and not trying to inflict pain upon them. That, beloved, is your main superpower. The fact that you can send your energy out and people just feel better in your very presence. That is your superpower. That conquers all. And it's time for you to get to work in your purpose. If you're having to make some tough decisions, let me tell you what the toughest decision I need for you to make right now. Are you going to walk in your purpose or not? That's your decision. Are you going to walk in your purpose or not? Are you going to come down here and complete the mission? Are you going to get to work? Are you going to hone your skills? Are you going to step out of your comfort zone? Are you going to come out of the closet? And are you going to get to work? Because there are going to be so many people that are going to want to come out. They're coming out every day. Every day, they're like, oh my gosh, what we've been living has been a lie. And they know it. They need people like you. They need empaths. They need spiritual workers. They need healers. They need counselors, they need guides, they need coaches, they need readers to guide them and help them and guide them through this minefield that is their shadow work, that is their ascension, that is their healing in every area. They need you. Humanity needs you. Because the more and more that we help to transition and to ascend, the more and easier and quicker we can get through all of this. The quicker we can get through it, the quicker you're going to see the split between 3D and 5D. It's already splitting. But the wider that chasm gets, and once it gets to critical mass, then the transition happens. But that transition is happening a lot faster than I think any of us ever thought. But we need you. We need you to get to work. We need the new guard to raise up. We need the new guard to say, guess what? I get it. I understand this is the way you taught things before. I get that. I understand that you can say, oh, I'm just trying to work within the confines of what I've been presented. I get it. That's okay. I, though, for one, am going to not work within the confines, that I've been given, but I'm going to work in the quantum where I'm living. Not in the confines and construct that I've been given, but within the quantum that I am living. That is a very different attitude to have. That is a very different point of view to have. One has an underlying control, and the other has an overreaching freedom. Which are you going to choose? It's time for you to get to work. What are you going to do? Get out here and get to work. If you need some more training, get some more training. But don't wait forever, and don't sit here and get trained forever either. For God's sakes, get out here. You've incarnated for such a time as this. So do it. Get out here. Activate your superpowers. There's a lot of us that already have. And there's a lot of them that I've already forgotten. So, beloveds, when you see new things pop up, new networks, new YouTube channels, new Instagrams, new websites, new what have you, and you hear and see and know that they are speaking truth, and they're speaking love, and they're speaking light, and they're speaking unity, because I love each and every one of you. Each and every one. And I still believe that when I help people clear blockages, cut cords, clear karma, clear those things that have been passed down generation to generation that are holding people back from living full lives. When we clear all of that and I help you swing open that door and ascend, right? I believe that's what I'm supposed to do. And I believe that as we do those things in the energetic world, that has no choice but to affect how your third dimensional world is operating, because now the overworld, the oversoul, the controlling energy, if you will, the controlling winds, right, if you will, they changed direction. And so things are different. So your third dimensional realm has no choice but to respond to it. But if we're simply giving our responses from a third dimensional realm and expecting somehow that to make a hill of beans bit of difference in what we're doing higher dimensionally, we're backwards and we've not learned anything. And I don't believe, unfortunately, the old guards and the old way really has a very solid comprehension of what that means. And it's time for us in love to raise up and say, guess what? We're living in a new world. We're living in a new day. We are ushering in the new earth without fear, without control, full of love, full of light, and full of freedom. And we are getting to work and we are leading the way. Interestingly enough, I'm not even sure if to me, the time of the guru is pretty much past. And instead, we are in the age of Aquarius, where the individual understands that they have the power to operate within the collective. Where the individual understands their power, their position, and their purpose in being your own guru, and being your own light, and being your own leader, and helping those that are coming after you. Beloveds, thank you so much for being here. I so very much appreciate you. Again, please feel free to go to heartofinspiration.net and subscribe to my newsletter so you can be kept abreast of all of the things that we're doing here. I also want to introduce to you guys, I introduced it to my Lightworker Academy students that be on the lookout, because this month we are unveiling I don't know if I want to call it a new, but it is a Reiki technique that has been given to me. And there's another wonderful woman, Jacqueline Mayan, that is working on this with me. And it is transmutation Reiki. It's based in not only the Usui method, but also the Sekhmet Reiki method. Also, some shamanic practices are included in this. And this level of Reiki is truly 5D. So it is really transmuting this shadow energy, elevating its frequency, reintegrating it into the body so that it is a foundation that then allows us to then ascend to higher levels. It is revolutionary, and it is focusing on the importance of that shadow and inner child and other healing work that is necessary for us to build a higher foundation for ascension on. So be on the lookout for that. We will be starting to do weeks of attunements in this method so that you can be one of the first to be attuned as a practitioner in this method and then as a master in this method as well. So be on the lookout for that. Peace, love, blessings, and joy be unto you today, tomorrow, and for all eternity. I love each and every one of you so very much. Namaste. Bye-bye.